John Abendroth here, and welcome to my latest zoomcast, sponsored as I have been for many months by Original Joe's of Westlake, right near the Olympic Club out of San Francisco, and a new one, Putter Key, a good golf training aid that I've been helping them with a little bit, so we want to help promote that a little bit. And as I introduce these guys, I like to name these broadcasts sometimes, and I couldn't think this one is either where are they now or who are these two characters. So I'll do a
We
proper
fit in either
introduction.
one of them, but
Yeah, right. And these are old, longtime friends. And wearing the hat is Scott Masingill and his cousin Brad, who was my roommate in college. And you guys are a couple of really key parts of the Idaho golf scene, living in the Payette area on the Oregon-Idaho border. So we've talked about doing this for a while, and thanks for having some time on a Sunday afternoon.
we're glad to be here, John. Yes,
And
sir.
Scott, we chatted recently, and we did a radio version of this a number of years ago when you had played the Champions Tour, then the Senior PGA Tour, and caught up with you at Silverado, and golf is one of those things that really keeps us together. So that was a fun memory hooking up with you there.
It was for me too, because I think I followed Arnold Palmer on the broadcast. So I think probably it was KMBR or something like that. And I think everybody, as soon as Arnie signed off, they quit listening. But I was pretty excited to be following Arnie.
Yeah, and on our hookedongolf.com site, there's a fun picture of Palmer. He was getting ready to play, and they told him it was a 40-minute wait for breakfast, and he sat down at our production table, and that was a great memory. So speaking of memories, Brad, boy, we had a great run at Weber State, and when I came in, you had already been there a year, and if I recall, you went as an individual to Ohio State as an individual to the NCAA, which is a pretty much a rarity to go to that as an individual.
Yeah, that was a kind of a lucky thing. I finished second, but the guy who from Montana, who finished first, he couldn't go. He was over the limit in age by the time he got to that tournament. So I got to go.
Wow, that's great. I want to say, was that Carpenter? Was that his name?
Yeah, I think that's right.
Yeah, I
That
remember
sounds
he
right.
was a good player, and
Yeah,
we would play against those guys occasionally in tournaments, and
sure.
I remember he was a real good player. So that
Yeah,
and then we went the 3 years that you and I played together. We all went as a team, which was cool. We had good batch of players on our team.
sure. Yeah, we did. Jeff German and some of the people that were there, I've seen in the past. I've seen in maybe the last 15, 20 years. So it's pretty nice.
Yeah,
John,
go
excuse me,
ahead.
but do you realize that Brad and I both won Division One individual conference championships on the same day? I won the Pac 8 the same day that he won the Big Sky. So two kids from Payette, Idaho, won Division One conference championships on the exact same day.
Wow, that I did not know that fact. And one of my questions was going to be, did you at Oregon and us at Weber, I forget, did we ever play in same tournaments together at all?
We played at Pasatiempo almost every year in the same tournament, and I believe that my recollection is that that's the only one. I was at Oregon State, so don't say that I was at Oregon, please.
I'm sorry.
Ugh.
I'm over that.
Cringeworthy.
No,
Yes.
and you had a great 4 year run there, and the conference had strong players, and I think if I remember, like Stadler and Watson were,
Correct.
playing at that time at different schools.
And Peter Jacobson. I mean, obviously that was a pretty strong conference, and I was somewhat competitive. Had one really good week and won the Pac-8 in 1971. I was a third team All-American that year and an honorable mention All-American in 73. Mark Feil, you remember that name?
I see
Won the
Mark.
Pac-8.
I see Mark once a year, and he and I are very good friends. He comes up to a charity event that I help run in George Archer's honor, and Mark's still playing real good golf. He was a
Yep,
Walker Cupper, and just
right.
one of the sweetheart guys you ever meet.
Nice guy. He won the Pac-8 in 73. I was second in 1973. So
Yeah.
anyway,
So again, I want to reintroduce Scott Masingill with the hat and Brad not with the hat, and they're cousins from Payette, Idaho, which is, I believe, a suburb of Weiser, Idaho. Is it not? Aren't you pretty close to the same town there? And you're what, about 50 miles west of Boise? Is that about
correct.
right? Yeah.
Yes.
Brad, a couple of my favorite stories from Weber was. When we played at Hill Air Force Base, the coach would frisk our golf bags because at the bottom of the golf course down by the runway, they had the halfway house and it had a 25-cent vending machine for beer. And I've told that story 100 times to people. That was a lot of fun.
That was, I don't want to acknowledge having anything because I don't know what effect that would be. But yes, that was a really nice thing to have after about 4 or 5 holes, I think it was.
Right,
And a
right.
and a quarter back in when we were still golfing, the quarter was not very much money even. So
Yeah, that
I
was
think
that was important. So
I think the statute of limitations has run out, John.
there you go. There you
and
go.
maybe, yeah. Talking
And
like a little.
my other favorite memory that comes to mind is you and I, after we were in the dorm together at Weber, we rented a house with others. And do you remember what the rent on that house was? I do, and I've told this story. When there was five people in the house, our rent each was $37.50. The rent on the house was $187. And so there's a big football game, and one of your friends from Idaho comes down, and they brought the cannon that they would blast off during a touchdown. Do you remember this story?
Oh yeah. I think
And
I've told Scott about it, I think.
so out in the front of the house, there was about 4 feet of snow on the ground, and we dug a hole and we had the cannon. It was only about 4 feet long, and we had it in the snow. And your guy from Idaho that came down lit it, and then it started to tip over like this. And by the time it blew its paper out to make the noise, it was laying on its side, and it looked like a plane had crashed like four houses down in the snow. The police came, and some people left the party at the house. And funny how the memories come back, you know?
Who
Yeah,
who brought the can?
Pat Sullivan. And not only that, I think it was an officer. It was either the chief of police or somebody else lived like 2 houses down from us,
Wow.
where this thing went racing down the hill in the snow, went past their place. I don't know
Yeah,
how we
that
got out of that one.
I know, I know.
It,
I don't either. So
you remember, did we run?
I think I ran in my bedroom, which was the old kitchen, and before they remodeled this house, in the back of the house. But
Yeah,
I don't think any of us did any time. So that was
yeah,
and and probably our old coach Mac Madsen never found out either. So
that's right.
I think
Mac
that's
was just
probably the reason that Brad went to law school is so he could defend himself on most of these issues. So it was a cost savings measure.
yeah. Hey Scott, one of the great stories about you in my mind, you hear all these great stories in golf, but you've worked for a trucking company named Prime for what, 40 years or something.
35 years. I've worked for Prime Incorporated for 35 years. I've worked for the owner, Robert Lowe, and Steve Wetke, and they've been absolutely terrific. So, yes, I'm
So
still
you
working.
so you qualified for the Champions Tour and you kept your job. You travel around the country. You're in Arkansas one week and Texas another week and Southern California, and you you make your sales calls on Monday, Tuesday, and then you go play in a senior event. That's what a magic way to go.
I cannot tell you how thankful I am to Robert Lowe and Steve Wetke, because they allowed me the flexibility to kind of chase that dream. You don't. There's a kind of an old saying: you don't quit your job to go on the senior tour. Um, that's a pretty dicey type of thing, and they basically just said, "You go try this. You work when you aren't playing, and you play as hard as you can." And I did take a sabbatical when I was exempt in 2006. I took a sabbatical from my job from like January through September when I was exempt that one year. But again, I can't tell you how these guys they're athletes. They understand athletics. They understood, that this was something I wanted to try to do, and they allowed me that flexibility. And I don't know many people that would have.
Yeah. Hey, Brad, thinking back to Weber, what a great bunch of characters we had on our team. You mentioned Jeff German. I'm still in touch with Steve Wathen pretty regular. And we had two guys that were actually military veterans, Ron Litzenberger and Wedgie Winchester, that went on to have a great career working for Ping, and he traveled all around the world giving exhibitions on trick shots. And this was not your sort of your vanilla group of players. We all had a unique backgrounds and a bunch of characters, as I say.
Yeah, that was amazing. I still look back on those days, and I remember Wedgie. I think we were up in Pocatello getting ready for a tournament, and I think he was couldn't ride or couldn't walk because, and he had to ride because he hurt his leg or his back. Um, and I didn't know how that turned out down the road. Is he still okay?
Well, he had a bed and breakfast up near the California Oregon border. And just to remind you of how he hurt himself, he was driving home to California with me one winter, and we got in a bad car accident where a cattle truck hit myself, my car, and my friend from Reno's car. And he was in the hospital for like about 3 to 4 weeks, badly broken leg. And when he came back, he had a crutch and he had a broken leg and a cast on his right leg, and he started sitting on a stool, hitting funny shots and different things, and that's what got his trick shot show going. And what I really remember, this was the one where he got me, was we're at Tucson for the NCAA
Oh,
championship,
yeah.
and at the turn of 9 holes of a practice round, if you were the designated hitter for this long drive contest, they said, if you come through here, we'll get you to the front of the line. And I go up because I'm going to be the long drive hitter for our team. And I go up, and the woman says, "Well, you've been scratched. Your replacement is Mr. Winchester, and he's actually hitting now. Go watch him." Here he is out there on his crutches and his right leg in a cast, and he hit it about 220. And I could have hit it that far with a 5 wood at that time. And and what a trick he pulled on me for him to get up there, and that was a funny memory of Wedgie.
But he played in the NCAA in 1971 at Tucson National with a cast on his right leg and on crutches. I remember that
And
thinking,
he had furniture casters on the bottom so that he didn't
yes,
mark up the greens.
right.
And fast forward, I'm playing the New Zealand golf tour in 1976. I was over there for 13 weeks, and there's a pro am, and I'm not in the pro am, so I'm just hitting balls and practicing. And I see a crowd start to gather on the driving range, and I go over, and sure enough, he's given a an exhibition, a trick shot exhibition, and I started doing sort of cat calls over the crowd, and then I stick my head back down, and he figured out who it was, and then he had me come out and hit a couple of shots with him, and so I stayed in touch with him a little bit over the years. So
That's
Scott Masingill, let's get back to you for a moment. I mentioned you guys are from Idaho, and the Idaho State Amateur Trophy, Scott, has your name on it. You win it so many times, instead of having your name etched in little spots, they etched your name a little bigger.
That is correct. I won that tournament 9 times. I won it in the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, and the 2000s.
Nice.
So I won it in 4 decades. I won it when I was a college kid, and I won it when I had turned 50. I turned professional right after I turned 50. I won that for the 9th time, and so yeah, that's an honor. As you get older, obviously those legacies are, you think back, and they're very important, and that's very important to me.
And I know I've spoken with you with my good friend Gary Vanier, who lived here in the San Francisco area, but he became a fly fisherman, and he now spends most of his year up in Idaho, and he's done some battle with you up there as well. And I know he's won a lot of tournaments, and he's got a lot of silver and a lot of glass to hang around. But good battles you guys had.
Gary is a terrific player. I may have beaten him at some point in time, but I can't remember when it was. I remember all of the times that he's played better than me, and he and I we were friends I mean, quote unquote, when he was at Stanford and I was at Oregon State. We knew each other, but we've actually become pretty good friends since he's moved to Idaho, and I see him once or twice a year, usually at either a Pacific Northwest Golf Association tournament or an Idaho Golf Association tournament. And it's really been enjoyable to get reacquainted with him.
He told me about a year ago that he was going to quit competition, but then you told me he played a few months ago. It's sort of like like an alcoholic. You just
Correct.
you say
Gary
you're not
is
going to
not.
drink, but then you keep drinking.
Gary isn't going to quit.
No,
Um, Neither is Brad. Neither am I. I mean,
right.
the good thing though about losing your memory, like we've done, is that you don't remember how well you used to play.
Yeah,
That's my
or it's
phone ringing. I'm going to go silent.
well, I had a question for Brad anyway. Hey, Brad, tell me about the Scotch Pines golf course, and which was the Payette golf course. Your family very involved with that. You turned it from a 9 hole to an 18 hole, and now it's sort of community owned, and really a great story.
Yeah, Scott has been involved in it. Even ran the thing here for I think it was about 3 or 4 years in a row. But it's been wonderful. Our families, together with a bunch of other people from Payette, actually built that first 9. And I don't remember the day that we opened it, but we were real young at the time. I remember just vaguely some times when we were out picking rocks off of one of the streets because the fairway was going to go there.
Wow.
And we got tickets to the carnival for all of us going out and picking up stones and
Huh.
throwing them away. So that's how it kind of started.
Yeah.
Brad and
Well,
I, Brad and
go
I
ahead.
worked on the golf course. We were 11 years old, and our granddad, who was very instrumental in getting it started, he came up with a saying that said, "One boy, half a man; 2 boys, no man at all." And I think that applied to Brad and I working on the golf course.
Well, I think part of the equation is working on a golf course when you're 11, 12 years old is how you guys turned out to be such great golfers. And so now, Brad, we can't have you stand up and show your swing, but you had kind of the John Daly super long backswing, and it's one of those swings that you would have said, this guy can't keep that going till he's 40. But I'll bet the swing is still about the same.
Unfortunately, it is. Scott keeps trying to make me change, but I'm too old to change, I'm afraid. So I've gotten about as good with his help as I can get. That have to remove my arms, I think, to be able to get me to get into a position that anybody would recognize.
Well, like Palmer once said, he says, "Swing your own swing," and chip away at ideas, and putt good and chip good and all that. So that's all good stuff. The other fun thing I remember from Brad when we were roommates, that from Payette was Harmon Killebrew, and Scott, I read something where he actually told you to stick with golf because you were what? Too skinny to play baseball? There you go.
Yeah, Brad, our dads were baseball players. Golf was kind of secondary to them, and one day we weren't hitting very good. We were playing junior legion or something, and so our dads took us over to look Harmon Killebrew to help us with our hitting, and he basically kind of looked at Brad's arms and my arms and said, really, probably you guys need to just stick to golf, and it's a good thing that we did. I mean, we've had a ton of fun, and it was great advice. It was great advice.
I've taught for a long time, and I've had so many conversations with parents about their kids or with kids, and it's like, hey, kids or parents, the odds of your son playing baseball when he's 35 is very low, but the odds of him playing golf when he's 35 is very high. And I know people have thanked me for that when they're either themselves or their kids are in their 40s. So it's very very interesting to think that way.
Very true. Obviously, Brad and I both played golf with our granddad, our dads. I played golf. My dad played golf almost into his mid 90s. He died at 93, and he and I were still kind of playing some version of golf at 92. And I've told Brad this. After my father passed away a couple of years ago, in his glove were a couple of notes of what he was working on when he was 92 or 93. He was still trying to get better at 92 or 93. And I think that's kind of what Brad and I do as much as we possibly can. We go out and we work on our games
Yeah,
every day. We're both 74 now, and we're still thinking that we might get better.
yeah,
I, that might be a fool's errand, but
There's one other neat idea go along with that is Scott is 23 days younger in age than I am. We were both born. I was born on the 4th of July and he was on the 27th. So we started out together a lot.
well, we're like twins. We're not like brothers. We're like twins. We grew up pretty much in the same household and have
nice.
spent our whole lives together, and still at this age, we're still playing golf together as much as we possibly can.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that, Brad. My daughter's birthday is 4th of July, so
Wow.
we had some weird holidays. My dad was fourth. There was St. Patrick's Day. My wife is Christmas, and with Kara, my daughter, kind of a weird deal. So very very fun, guys. This is great. Great to hook up with you. Great to catch up. And Brad, we've talked about a reunion. I've talked to Wathan about it, and I saw German about, oh, I don't know, 10 years ago. I went up to Utah to an event, and we hung out a little bit. And but what a great batch of memories of playing with you, and the fun times and the golf times, and we had some great successes with our team. So lots to hang our hats on there.
Yeah, it sure was great playing with you, John. And anytime you want to get together to go play golf, Scott and I will get there, probably a couple of our kids.
Yeah,
But, anytime we can always go to Utah. It's about halfway for us, I think.
yeah, yeah. And then it was fun when Rose and I did a vacation up to Idaho and Canada. It's probably 15 years ago. I know we swung through, and I think we actually went out and played a few holes on your course, and I want to say maybe Brad, your dad was there, or maybe it was Scott's dad that we just I think we played like a sixum for a couple three holes and then hung out in the clubhouse there a little bit, and that was
Yeah,
a
that,
good memory.
that was great, and we lost Rick Licks,
Litzenberger.
Litzenberger.
Litzenberg, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, really early, and that was kind of a tragic thing. So it's nice to have us get back together. So
Yeah, and
great.
we've had a couple other guys. I know I threatened for a number of years who played on our team that died early. Larry Malone, who
Oh,
there's a big junior scholarship program, I think in Twin Falls that
that's
from
right.
Larry growing up there, and he had cancer early on, and I think he only barely made it to 20 or 21 years old. So, you know,
Right.
we had, a couple others that have died young. Our other roommate, Van Madsen, who was in southern Utah, and he passed away early on, and maybe in his, I don't know, early 50s or so. So
I
you and I got to keep chunking away here. So
Yeah, we do. I sure appreciate talking to you, and anytime you want, come on up or we'll come on down.
you got it. All right, Scott Masingill, Brad Masingill, and I'm John Abendroth, and been fun chatting with you guys, and this will be a good motivation for us to stay further in touch. So appreciate it, guys, very much.
We do.
Let's do it. Thanks, John.
Thanks, John.